Welcome to the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Peggy Gleason, creator of the Mindful Eating Approach, where I help professional women and business owners with a tailored path to weight loss and self-confidence without the stress of restrictive diets, time-consuming exercise regimes, or medications. I help you transform your eating habits to enhance all areas of your wellness, and we always offer inspiration, motivation, and education with amazing gifts. And today I am honored to introduce our next guest, Tessa Gray. Tessa is a Paris-trained dress designer turned image and color expert. And she has worked she's worn many hats, and it's so exciting to hear her stories. She was a chef at one time and actually was a jockey. Can you imagine? And today she's known as the $1 million look lady to her clients. And she has designed and dressed hundreds of women for business to royal ascot as well as performers. Having grown up and competing, she knows that the combination of looking and feeling your best gets the best results as an athlete. She uses her experiences and expertise to help people working online, coaches, entrepreneurs, speakers, writers, and experts feel amazing, stand out, look lovelier, and ultimately more confident so they can improve their visibility and success on and off camera, ultimately generating more impact, influence, and income as a result. She's amazing. She turns mismatched look into one that tells the right story about her clients so they love their look and they feel they've nailed their meetings every time. Tessa is amazing, and I am so excited to have her be here today. Welcome, Tessa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peggy. I'm so honored to be here. And actually, when you read out what I do and everything, it always makes me feel so humbled, because everything that you said is what clients have said to me. And it's just amazing that I can make such a difference to people with just such small tweaks. And the impact that actually then has on their lives as a result. And what I think really the thing that the whole point of the $1 million look thing is, yes, the clothes are amazing, but there's another string to it at all, and that's the way you feel. Because it doesn't matter how good you look, if you don't feel great, you don't ever look your best, and you don't nail it either, as I found out competing and in all sorts of other areas of my life.
I love what you just said, and it is so true. And it just comes back to the mind body, right? It's sort of like what your emotions and how you feel is how you come out to the energetic way you come out to people, right? It's just absolutely amazing. What I'd love to ask you is, how did you go from chef to jockey to, I mean, all these things, and here you are, the expert in color and design. And I mean, just to think of the experiences working with these amazing women in your life, in your paths, to have them dressed the way they needed to be.
I think a lot of it is just I'm incredibly creative, and really it all started as a little girl. I was the eldest of four, and I had two little sisters, and Mum used to make clothes for us, and I was that shy, timid child that really dreaded going to the children's party. But if I had a pretty dress to wear, that just helped. It gave me the confidence to walk in to a room full of kids, even when I was 3 or 4 or 5, and just feeling great, and then I could have fun. So I used my clothes to give me confidence. But the other thing is, my mother was an Olympic skier, and she understood the power. And it's only now I realized that she was probably an incredible sports psychologist too, but she also understood the power, and she taught me from a very early age of our clothes relating to our performance, in that she got me a pony she was learning to pony when I was little. I was about 18 months old, and we had our riding clothes, and we had our competition clothes, and we had our hunting clothes, and we had this, that, and the other. And when you put your competition clothes on, it puts you into a different zone. And that was the same with the dresses. And when I was about 9, I was injured. I was off school, so she had to take me shopping. She needed a new evening dress, and there was obviously massive discussion about which dress to buy. And I don't remember much about it because I was recovering from a fractured skull, so bad head injury. But this is what I was told. And eventually she said, "Which one, Tessa?" And I said, "That one, Mummy." And that was the dress that she bought. And she had Titian red hair, that dark red hair. It was a dark turquoise, and it came off the shoulders. It came in at the waist, and it came out again. It had a big bow. And she got more compliments in that dress than any other she'd ever bought. And when I was little, also when I was about 4 or 5, I got her to show me how to make clothes for my dolls out of the leftovers of the fabrics. And at school, we had an amazing dressmaking teacher, and she had a cousin living in Paris, and between them, they plotted to send me to Paris to go and learn sewing and how tailoring. And she said to me, "How would you like to go to Paris to learn how to sew?" And I said, "Well, I don't really want to go. I don't really want to learn how to sew." And she said, "Well, you can have a year in Paris if you agree to go and learn how to sew." So it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah, what a deal that is. Oh my goodness, that's great. Wow.
So the horses had always been in my life because I started riding when I was 18 months old. And what my mother taught me was the way I felt impacted the way the horses performed, or we performed. They
Wow.
knew. And I remember saying, when I got the new pony, she was very fast. She said, "Don't worry, Tessa, if you don't want to jump the fence, the pony won't." And so if I was nervous, the pony would stop. And I remembered a competition, pony club competition, when I was much older. It was a team competition. And me and my friend, we sailed around these fences. And then we were in the intermediate, and the senior one came back, and she said she got eliminated at a fence that my friend and I had sailed over, a hedge or something. And she said, "Thing was, Mrs. Gray, my heart wasn't over the fence."
Wow. Wow.
And so the pony stopped for her. And years later, I was riding out in America in Virginia, and came in one day, and I was put on this horse. And anyway, the headman said she'll need spurs, and Michelle said she won't. So we went up, everybody was watching, and the trainer said, "Okay, just jump her over those little show jumps." And they were very little, so I jumped over the show jumps. He said, "Okay, do it again." And the whole yard was watching. And then he told everybody what to do. And he said, "Well, you're coming with me. I'm on a Maryland Hunt Cup winner, Gold Cup winner, and we're going jumping, and I'm going to give you a lead." And the first fence, he looked around to see if I jumped it. And anyway, that went on for about the next 6 fences. And I thought, this is a bit weird. And anyway, we spent an hour and a half jumping around the fields, around the farm. And when we got back, Michelle said, "How was she?" And I said, "She was brilliant." And she turned to Speedy and said, "Told you so." And she told me in the car going back that the horse wouldn't jump for anybody.
Wow.
And Michelle had said, "Put Tessa on her." Because I didn't know, I had no expectation. And my communication to the horse was that we were jumping the fence.
Wow.
And
Oh
really,
my
and
goodness.
that's the whole thing I do with people's image is we dress them for success so that they know they nail it. Because on the inside, what it does, it creates that inner confidence. So when you look in the mirror, and this is particularly for women, I've done a few men, but it's mostly women because women's clothes figures are much harder to shop for than men's. And so they look in the mirror and they nail it, or they switch on the camera and they immediately get a compliment. Well, that already puts you ahead of the person you're talking to. It raises your level of confidence to an extent that suddenly, as one client said, I used to dread my online meetings. Now I look forward to them. I absolutely love them.
Wow. That's so cool, but it makes sense to me. I can remember times where I felt a little frumpy, but then I knew I had to go to an event. I went to a high school reunion, and this dress that I was going to wear was my daughter's, but we both fit in the same clothes, which is very helpful. Um, and when I put that dress on, I felt like $1 million, and I had the best time I could imagine. But I really can relate to that feeling of feeling frumpy and then feeling great just because of the way your dress fits or whatever clothing you're wearing. And of course, your makeup and everything else, your hair, your makeup, everything. And that's what your specialty is even the lipsticks you're really you do all the colors for as well. So tell me more about the color part of your expertise, because you really are a color expert. And I remember when we spoke once before, you had said on camera, colors look different than they do in person. This is a pretty bright blue shirt, and it looks very, very dark today on
Yeah.
camera. So I'm curious as to what you can talk to our audience about with colors.
So it all depends on the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about getting the lighting right, because when the lighting's not so right, good, it looks a lot darker. So, but also the other thing that is that the photographic color spectrum is different to the normal spectrum to what we see. And what seems to happen with the photographic spectrum is that you can put on what looks like a completely red shirt, red blouse. On camera, it can look orange, because in the dye, when you're, for instance, if I'm choosing red for somebody, I've got 12 different reds to choose from, and you've got the red, sort of the neutral red, which is in the middle. So it means that any colouring can wear red, and then it has bits of yellow in it and bits of blue in it. And the more yellow it has in it, the better it is for somebody with a warmer complexion. And the more blue it has in it, better it is for somebody with a cool complexion. So for instance, somebody with very black hair and pale skin and blue eyes, for instance, will want a bluer red, whereas somebody with if we could use the same analogy with actually dark hair with brown hair with the auburn lights in it, and maybe brown eyes or green eyes, they'll look better with a bit more orange in it. So it's really, really subtle.
That's amazing.
Photographic camera seems to pick up the warmer colors, because I know somebody she was hosting an event, and she said, "Oh, well, Tessa says I look great in red. That's why I'm wearing red." And I hated to tell her that actually it looked orange on screen, and she had no idea. And orange was a color that she wouldn't wear. It didn't actually matter, because it really quite suited her. It was fine. She didn't need the blue red. But I think if she'd realized that it looked orange, she'd have judged it more differently. So really with that, I've learned so much over the last 4 years dressing people for the camera, because I had another client and she got out this jacket, it was emerald green. She said, "This is the most beautiful jacket." Sort of thing that I'd wear to a cocktail party, but I wouldn't wear to a business meeting. But I do love it. Well, let's put it on anyway. And I said, put it on anyway. And on camera, it was the most beautiful jade color. So it all
Isn't
depends
that
how much
interesting?
blue is in the dye.
That is fascinating. Oh my goodness. I know red hair can sometimes be a little bit more challenging, right? And I could be wrong, but I always notice when, like, my daughter-in-law has gorgeous, beautiful virgin red hair, and she's never put anything in it, and it's just gorgeous. But I know she looks really good with earth tones, and it almost matches. I mean, it blends, but I'm sure that there's other colors that would complement red hair. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Well, green.
Green,
They
yes. He
do
does.
look
She does wear green too. Yeah.
amazing in green. And the other color is purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the right tone of purple.
Hmm.
And that was fascinating for me, because obviously my mum had this amazing colored hair.
Yeah.
And I remember making her an outfit in a dark jade green. And she had we had a multicolored striped blouse, and there's quite a lot of blues and purples in it. And I made a hat. The hat was a combination of the jade and the stripy fabric. And she looked absolutely amazing in that. And she was going to a wedding in Mexico. And I found this sort of lavender, because her hair by that stage, she was in her 70s. Although it wasn't grey, but it was this sort of very pale red. And so I found this sort of lavender outfit, and she picked it up and said, "I couldn't possibly wear that." And I said, "Mum, put it on." And she looked amazing in it. And yeah, we got her a jacket, a skirt, a pair of trousers, and a top. And somebody else had a similar outfit in a different color. And she said, "Oh my God, I wish I bought the other one. You look amazing in this." And my mum always hated sort of dressing up and everything, because she struggled to find clothes that fitted. And she was
Mhm.
much more of a sort of outdoor person, athlete type thing. So she was much more into sporty, casual clothes. But she came back saying that her outfits fitted into an overnight bag went into hand luggage, that she'd had everything she needed to wear for this wedding in Mexico for a weekend celebrations, and they were colors that she wouldn't necessarily have chosen herself.
Isn't that something? Gosh. The Yeah, I'm fascinated with what you're saying. I mean, just the lavender with red hair, I would not have thought. I really wouldn't. I would think orange and blue are complementary, but lavender, wow.
Yeah,
Now,
you have to get the
mhm,
right color though, but it's about getting the
yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah.
isn't that something? So when it comes to really putting yourself out there, especially we're talking a little bit more about online, which is important today
Yeah,
because of the way it is on everybody's online. I
yeah.
think your lighting is, I don't know what's going on with your
Sorry,
lighting there. Yeah.
sorry.
But what are some of the biggest tips you can suggest to people who want to um, convey confidence, as far as maybe they have a good color on, but what else is with their appearance, like their makeup or their hair or anything like that? Because it's all together, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think the thing is to um, get dressed for online, especially on camera. It's a really good idea to wear some makeup. I'm not a big makeup girl, but I wore more makeup when I first went online than I than I had done in the previous, I don't know, 2 years or something. Everything just wore out because actually it smooths the skin tone, and a little bit of blusher gives you some shape. I haven't got very much on at the moment, but I have got a bit, and it just highlights your natural features, and it does make you look better. You can create shape with your face, a better shape. And it's really interesting is that, especially if you have, I'm trying to say it's more, I have kind of like a pear-shaped face, so it's quite easy to do. But for instance, if you've got a square shaped face, or you've got a round face and you want to change the shape of it a bit, by using the makeup, you can actually create that sculpted look.
Like with is it with
the
with shading down here, like
shading.
yeah.
So you give yourself a jawline. One of the other things that a client said, I couldn't believe she didn't know this. She only ever put makeup on her face. She didn't put it all down her neck.
Oh,
So you need to
interesting.
have it all down your neck. So it all needs to marry in so that you don't get this line. Mascara is really important. Highlighting the if you put little white bits in and also in here, it actually it highlights your eyes a bit more. I mean, there's quite a lot you can talk about makeup, and I've actually done a class on it really, but it's always have your hair looking good, because people judge you. People make a judgment about you in less than time than you can say grandmother.
Wow.
So it's really important. And the other thing that is really important is actually lipstick. To go back to what we were talking about with the colors of red, try it out online, because again, if it may look okay, and then you put it on, but if it's got more orange in it, and for instance, like here, I've got a slightly bluier top, so if my lipstick was orange, that's a complete mismatch.
I see.
In the mirror, it probably looks fine, but because of what we talked about, it may not. So always check that out, because that is, we make opinions based on what we see, based on fight or flight. It's just in our DNA. We can't stop it. And it takes 18 half-hour 30-minute meetings or 9 hours to undo a first impression if you can. And the things that people will notice if the colors don't match. They'll also notice if you're mixing and matching warm and cool tones. That also creates a mismatch visually.
So for the audience, give examples of mixing warm and cool tones, because not everyone understands what those are.
So if you think of warm tones as being sunny tones, think of an orange or a mango, sunshine. It's so actually I'm a really good example of a mixture. So my hair is cool because I've got grey in it, but it was originally black with red highlights. I've got green eyes and freckles. So my skin tone is warm and my eyes are warm, but my hair is now cool. So this means that I can wear a bigger combination of colors. So if I had, okay, this is a good example. Okay.
Okay, I can see that gold.
That's gold, so that is a warm tone.
Okay.
So this is warm. Not great on me, but that's much better. But when people make a mistake is when they mix their background. So for instance, if they had a cool background and they're wearing warm things, that create warm clothes, that makes a difference. So blue is a really common background for people to use. So it's really important when you use it, when you have a blue background, is to get the right blue, and because if you use a neutral blue, you'll be all right. But if you use something that's too pale, it's got too much white in it, it will wash you out.
Okay. Okay.
So if you've got a white background, that's another thing. A white
Hmm.
background will completely wash you out.
That's interesting. Wow.
So for
So it
instance,
makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense why they always, when we were younger and you'd go to a photographer, it was always blue. It was always a blue background on professional photography,
yeah,
as I recall, you know.
yeah. And if you think about, I don't know what it's like over in America, but certainly on the people reading the news and the BBC studios, the ITV and everything, they're very often, and when they're doing presenting things like the Olympics, they'll have different colors behind them, but very often it's blue.
Mm, that's interesting. I'll have to notice it now. Yeah, watching any show, like
Yeah.
what, yeah, especially the broadcasters, right?
Yeah, the
Where the,
broadcasters. Have a look at what the broadcasters have got behind them. Quite,
hmm
it's so often, especially when they're reading the news, it's very often it's blue. And the other thing is not to have too busy a background,
hmm hmm
because people want to be able to concentrate on what you're saying rather than what's going on in your background.
That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Now, so when you think about, you know, people that come to you, what do you hear from them as their biggest concerns about what they want to fix as far as being present online?
Um, well, I suppose the real, I think it's about they don't really like their image of themselves.
Okay.
And that really, to me, sometimes it's really surprising. And the first person that said that to me, I thought, wow, you look better than anybody else I've seen online.
Wow.
But she was the one that dreaded her online meetings. And the reason was because she didn't know what she didn't know. And the camera was a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So um, another client said, well, I thought if you could do my colors, I feel better about myself, so I'd be okay about going online. So we did her colors, did a wardrobe, and then I worked on her inside, feelings and emotions and everything. So we met in May. 2 months later, from meeting her, she was live streamed to 5,000 people at a political
Oh,
rally.
oh my goodness. That's
She
so
knew
cool.
she knew she was going to be live streamed to a few people, but she had no idea. And so we worked out what she was going to wear. We did all of that stuff. We did the presentation and how exactly set the whole thing up for her. We got rid of all her belief systems that were keeping her a little bit stuck. And happened on Tuesday night, and we had a call on Thursday. And she said to me, honestly, Tessa, I should be jelly. I should be in bits. I was live streamed to 5,000 people on Tuesday night. I cannot believe I did it. And I feel amazing.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. So really, I think we all have this inner voice. And the other thing that is happening is that because people have got so used to Zoom, is they're kind of turning it up and treating it, oh, we can do Zoom and we can do it anywhere from our home. And they're not really respecting, realizing that actually you have to treat it as though you're in the office, and you have to make the office, your background, look as though it's really like an office. You are telling the right story about yourself, and people are going to listen to what you say and do business with you. I had somebody else who was told that he couldn't possibly recommend any clients to her because her office didn't look that professional. And she taught him. She worked in financial services and she taught him. But when lockdown happened, that's what happened. So we tweaked a few things. And when I explained to her about first impressions, she said, no, I understand, because the guy was quite OCD, that sort of thing, that sort of thing. And she had a few papers on a cabinet in the background. It wasn't that messy, her office. And I think she'd been teaching yoga, so she was in a yoga top, and she didn't think that she had to turn up looking as though she was dressed for business, because it was,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Because she
And
knew the guy.
yeah. And so often you do see people get on a Zoom and they're either in bed or they're in a room that's in total disarray, or, the background really makes an impression. I know for me it does. When I'm watching somebody, if it looks very unkempt or chaotic, it's distracting.
Well, yes, and are you actually going to follow up with that person?
Not likely. No, not likely. It's very interesting what you're bringing out here. And I think all the listeners are probably learning so much. So, guys, everybody listening, remember your background is important. Don't have a mess behind you. And think about your hair, your makeup, what your colors, all the things that Tessa has gracefully presented to us today. It's amazing, and I know that people are going to want to get in touch with you. And I'm hoping you're going to offer a workshop soon, because I would love for everybody that's listening and watching to be able to attend one of your workshops, because they're amazing. So tell me how they can get in touch with you. I know we'll have a lot in the show notes, but is there any last words or anything you'd like to say?
Well, oh gosh, yes. Yes, well, the links will be, Dr. Peggy's got the links for the workshop. I usually run them once a month, possibly twice a month. I have one link which will go to it. So if you want to book, that's it. But you can email me at tessa@mymilliondollarlook.com, and just email if you want to have a chat. I can send over a link, and I offer really once people come to the workshop, they get the chance to speak with me, 15-minute one-to-one, if they've got any questions, because quite often it brings up questions, and depending on what type of industry you're in, it depends on, what you need to look like, and how we can tweak it, and it's also where you're working from, because a lot of people don't realize you don't need a big, great space. You just need to have it really well organized, really well lit, and for you to feel comfortable. And the whole point of it is you need to feel comfortable, because when you switch that camera on, you need to know that you're nailing it. Because when you do that, people buy your energy, they buy your enthusiasm, and they're much more likely to follow up with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Boy, oh boy, we are all so grateful for your wisdom and your candor. And I mean, just listening to your background and how you learned about, competition, for goodness sakes, riding a horse at 18 months. So it's really it's wonderful to get to really know who Tessa is, and to hear all of your wonderful experiences in life and what you've done for a lot of women to feel more confident. And we appreciate all that you do. So I want to thank you so much for being on our podcast today. And I will make sure everybody gets the notes and gets to her next workshop for sure. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peggy. It's been an honor to be here. And I do hope, listeners, if you've enjoyed it, do sign up, and I'd love to see you there. And if I can help you in any way, I would love to. It is my joy to make people feel and look good.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for listening and supporting the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. If you would like to attend training sessions by our amazing podcast guests and have a chance to connect, join the Professional Women's Wellness newsletter. For more details and to sign up, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. Each week, we will select a reviewer who will receive free access to my $197 course, Goodbye Night Bites, a 30-day journey to stop emotional eating at night. Please subscribe to get notifications of future episodes.